Good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm EJ from Fortinet. I've joined Fortinet since last year, so more than a year na since I joined Fortinet. So just what Maurice mentioned, so I work closely with government and enterprise accounts. So, and guys, I know you've been through a lot of discussions since this morning. I would like to have this presentation as light as possible, so you can cope up and mainly focus on the use cases and how Fortinet will be able to help you first understand the zero trust principle and how are we going to in implementing this or addressing the gaps in cybersecurity. So without further, let me start. Okay, so for those of you not familiar with Fortinet, is a cybersecurity company based in Cali. Our business
AJ, I think there's sorry to cut you off. AJ, sorry. AJ, sorry to cut you off. I think there's a problem with your signal. If you don't mind, you can just turn off your video so that the quality of the presentation is not affected. Thank you.
Okay. Is it better now, Maurice?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So again, Fortinet's vision is to make possible a digital world you can always trust. So we always aim to protect the users, devices, and applications, wherever or whatever the platform is, right? So over the last several years, Fortinet has experienced growth, consistently growing faster than industry average. We are still the most deployed network security solution. So over 1/3 of the total network security solution deployed globally are Fortinet products. And of course, it is done by leveraging or using our Fortinet Security Fabric. So later on, I'll be discussing ano yung Fortinet Security Fabric, what comprises it, and how it will help to address the cybersecurity gaps. Okay, so and if some of you not familiar as well with our product portfolio, so we have now I think more than 50 products that we are specializing. So both in network and security. So we offer the broadest portfolio of products. So some says that we are one-stop shop when it comes to networking and security. And of course, what makes us different from the others is our patented ASIC SPU or our security processing units, which enables our solution to provide security and performance as required by your organization. And another thing, we focus on innovations, on patents. In fact, we have 3 times more patents than our nearest competitor. Okay. Then, in order to visualize our global footprint, so we have 1,200 patents globally. So mainly technology and zero-day attacks. So we are the biggest contributors. We have 10,000 employees globally, 580,000 customers worldwide, and 8.4 million global firewall shipments. So with these numbers, you will be able to at least get a picture of our footprint. What or how big is our data lake when it comes to cybersecurity. So we use each of these customers as our sensors, no, you can say that. And recently, we just opened our technical support center here in Manila, in the Philippines. No? So their office is located at Ortigas. Okay. And of course, being a socially responsible company, no? So we are dedicated, no, in promoting carbon neutral operations, and we promote awareness against cyber attacks, no? And we are doing this with the use of course, technology updates, continuous education to our customers, and not just our customers, but to all customers who are interested, no, in improving their cybersecurity hygiene. As a matter of fact, our Fortinet Training Institute, no, pledged to train, no, at least 1 million people by the end of 2026. This is our training platform, no. In fact, it consists of 8 different levels, no, where the first 2 certifications are free for customers. So even non-customers, you can just create your account, visit this training institute site, then you can just go ahead and start your training, and you'll be able to easily earn the NSE1 and NSE2 certification. So for those of you na interested, I'll be posting siguro yung the link for this training institute. So you'll be able to take, no, this exam for free. No? And we also have different topics as well revolving cybersecurity. And for those who are specializing in Fortinet solution, then we have these advanced and technical levels. So, mga users or admins ng Fortinet or Fortinet products. Okay? And now, ayun, enough with the introduction of Fortinet. I'll be jumping to the topic Zero Trust Access. Okay, so Zero Trust Access, mainly knowing and controlling everyone and everything on and off your network. Okay. So before anything else, I want you to take a look at this, no, the enterprise access trends. So I know you are somehow familiar, no, dito sa mga trends na to. So first, by the end of 2024, 70% of application access will use multi-factor authentication. So as a matter of fact, right now it's around 15 to 20% of the application currently utilizing MFA. If you are using your mobile banking applications, your other financial technology services, no, emails, you have this already, no, installed either on your mobile phones, on your desktop, laptops, or even sometimes you have this yung mga tokens, no, yung mga USB-like hardware tokens for multi-factor authentication. So that will continue and will be part of enhancing the security when it comes to authentication. The next one is the workforce, no. So from the traditional office setup, we have evolved into a hybrid workforce, no. Especially here in the Philippines, though most of our organizations are or has set their policies to move back, no, to the offices, pero there are some, no, that still embraces the hybrid workforce, and that will continue, no, to be the setup, no, for the upcoming future. So I think some of the organizations, no, have decided to just get rid of their physical offices and continue to work remotely. And we can see that is possible, no, as long as, of course, you can access these applications, you can collaborate, you can set up meetings, you can exchange information. No? So I think for me, that's fine. And that will continue to trend, not just here in the Philippines, but across the globe. No? And the next one is BYOD and the IoT devices. No? So when we talk about the BYOD, ito yung mga handheld devices not managed by your corporate offices or corporate IT. So these are the devices that your IT gives access. No? So if you have, for example, your own laptop, your own cell phone, no? Once you have connected it to your network, then it can be tagged as BYOD na. No? And to add yung mga IoT devices, these are headless devices such as printers, security cameras, and even operational technologies that before, no, hindi sila connected sa network. Pero ngayon, in order for them to be more accessible, to do some automations, then they are connected, no? They are improved, innovated to be connected to the network, right? So these are the IoTs, and these IoTs will continue to rise up. Kasi yun yung trend ngayon. The more this device can connect to the network, it will be applicable, no? Sa enterprise environment. Then next one is the transition to dynamic or hybrid cloud. So we have seen during the pandemic that lots of organizations, no, or lots of the consumers, partners, customers embrace the what you call this, the financial services. No? So not just financial but healthcare services, which have made, no, online. No? So they are accessible online. And these organizations who are hosting these applications, they are not really expecting, no, na magiging ganun yung setup. So that's why they move rapidly in the cloud. No, they were forced to allot huge chunk of resources, no, for these applications to be hosted in the cloud for the users to access these applications with minimal delay or superior user experience. And we can see, and we are seeing the trend that the transition to the cloud, public or private cloud, will continue, but still your hybrid or your on-premise networks, hindi siya mawawala. It will stay. No? Because some of your applications probably are not compatible in this public cloud platforms, or you are using some legacy, no, na hindi ma-support, or probably you have done some cost analysis that moving to the cloud is quite expensive, no, when it comes to monthly dues or yung cost. So those are the considerations. So as you can see in this diagram, no, this is the traditional setup, but this is no longer applicable with the current landscape, no, of the cyber attacks. So you can see that on this traditional setup, the trusted zone is inside the data center or your office, where you put all sorts of security solutions such as firewall, next-gen firewall, IPS, anti-DDoS, WAF, and etc. And on your campus, you'll be providing next-gen firewall as well, Wi-Fi access to your users, switching access, and so on. DMZ, it is, we can say, less trusted zone because you're exposing it to the outside world, no, or to the public. And the remote, no, as tagged before, they are the untrusted, the very untrusted zone because you don't have visibility, no, on this remote access, no, accessing your applications or going into your network. So, and you don't have the control, no, to pinpoint. As long as you open your applications, they can somehow be accessible, no, by others. But right now, we are seeing that applications are more distributed than before. So we are putting our applications in first inside the data center, in the private cloud, public cloud. We let our branches connect to the internet, right? We are subscribing to different software as a service applications, no? And this opens up doors for bad actors, no? Yung mga hackers or cyber actors, cyber threat actors, no? That's why we don't or we don't trust, no, any of these areas. Doon nagsimula yung zero trust, no? So you cannot trust anything, no, inside your network, because once this particular area, for example, this branch network, once it is compromised, and since it has connections to your multiple parts of the network, then the malware payload can actually spread laterally, no, inside your network, getting your information, then letting the hackers do what they want. They can get your data, they can disrupt your network, no, or just stay dormant for a while, no, and put or execute ransomware, no? Can be like that. So that's where the zero trust model comes in, no? So first of all, we need to identify the common zero trust concepts. First is the zero trust. So zero trust is particularly not a single point product or solution, but it's a mindset. It's a philosophy for only trusting a user or device after explicitly confirming their identity and status. So meaning the user using that specific device, authenticated using a specific method, no, should only access a specific application. And they should only access this specific application for this specific time and with a continuous checking or verification. So that's the zero trust mindset. Okay. And the zero trust strategy, no, so meaning how are we going to address that, no, is to have a systematic approach to replace those implicit trust, no, for the network edges. So we can make use of the convergence of networking and security. So meaning the moment it connects to the network, you can apply security. So that's the convergence. The moment the security finds some host or risk, no, it can be totally removed from the network. So that's where the convergence of networking and security goes in, no. And to add, you can do segmentation, no, as initiatives, zero trust network access, policing the identity and authentication, giving the right access. So yun naman yung mga zero trust initiative, no. So and these are the solutions that we are seeing, no, in the market na customers really buy or put investment in, no. So in a nutshell, zero trust principles, first is to verify. You need to authenticate the user, verify the device on an ongoing basis, and provide only minimal access. And by providing minimal access, you are doing some small zones to control. So meaning even if you are accessing a specific VLAN, you don't have to or to get access, no, to the entire VLAN, but only to specific applications and to specific type of servers, no. So that's giving the minimal access. And when you access that application, you should give the least privileged access na that they can only access. No? So yes, you can access this application, but you are just a normal user. No? Hindi ka admin, you're not a super user that can modify application or read the source code, etc. And lastly, assume breach. No? So if you are a security administrator or a trusted advisor or a security architect, no, you should always assume breach, that someone is already inside your network. And with that mindset, no, with that assumption, how are you going to minimize the effect or the risk of the lateral movement or spread of the attack or the malware, right? So the moment that someone enters your network, or even your premise, no, you should check it or check them, no, in an ongoing basis, and assume that they will do something. No? So you should always make sure that your security cameras are on, your roving guards are doing their duties. No? So that's the analogy in the physical world. And in Fortinet, we are addressing this, no, by using our security fabric. So our security fabric is a cybersecurity platform that consists of different solutions, no, or different pillars. But right now, we will mainly focus on the zero trust access. But just to explain this, security fabric, it consists of different solutions. As I mentioned, we have more than 50 solutions that are working or integrating to each other to provide a coordinated response and automated response. And we are using a single operating system, no, to enable them to continuously share telemetry of data. So for example, the endpoint protection, or in our language, it's the Forti client, detects a compromise, no, on a specific host. It can automatically share that information to your firewall or to your web application firewall to automatically block that IP address. So that's very one of the examples ng automation and security fabric, how they interact and connect to each other. No? But we have lots, no, to give to our customers when it comes to the fabric approach of Fortinet. But right now, we'll be focusing on the zero trust access pillar. Okay, so zero trust access, knowing and controlling everyone and everything on and off the network. So not just the remote users, not just the internal users, but policies for both, no? And not just users, but devices and applications. Okay? So the zero trust access use cases, no, we can divide it into 4. First, we need to make sure that the user identity and access control is there. So the moment they enter, authentication. The moment they want to access control. Okay. Next one is the device discovery. So when someone goes into your office or your network, there's an open port, no? So the moment they connect a LAN cable or a UTP, they can be automatically blocked, because they are, or they should not be part of the network. And if there's someone bringing a rogue switch, no, or his own, no, network device trying to connect to the network, it will be blocked because it doesn't pass the device discovery, no, and dynamic control policies. Next use cases is the teleworker or off-network access. So it's more on the VPN use cases. No? How are we going to enforce security? When remote users or probably contractors, consultants, no, want to access your network, no, how are we going to enforce it? Enforce security policy. The next one is the application access management, or the next generation of the VPN evolution, or yung zero trust network access. Okay. So diving, no, more deeper into the first use case is, the first case is knowing who is on the network. So meron na kayong clue that this use case is mainly on the user side and authentication. Okay. So zero trust access, very important, is the authentication. And after authentication, the authorization, no? Or what access should we grant to this specific user? Who is the user? We need to identify who is the user. What is the group membership of the user? Is it only a guest that should have a very limited access to the network? Or is it the contractor that needs specific access to this specific system? And how long this contractor needs this access? And can we automatically or have a schedule of the access only? What vendor? And yun nga, as I mentioned, what access should they get? Always put in mind that least access policy will always be the better approach, which allows access only to the resources necessary for them to perform the role or the job. All right. And one of the challenges of user identification or user identity is that the common setup in an enterprise network, we have multiple sets of applications, right? And these applications probably have their own local user database or integrated with specific identity providers such as Azure AD or your on-premise AD, radio server, other authentication platform. No? So that's the problem. How are we going to centralize yung user access? So in Fortinet, we have solutions for centralizing this authentication. So your applications and your user will talk directly to a centralized platform. We call it actually the Fortinet Authenticator. So we proxy connections, authentication, authorization going to this specific application. So it is integrated with different identity providers, your radio servers, your LDAP, and even cloud-based na identity providers such as Azure, Okta, etc. And we address the issues that I mentioned earlier using these three areas: authentication, role-based access, and single sign-on. So when it comes to authentication, we can establish identity through username and passwords, certificate, this Fortinet Authenticator can also be your certificate or say server, providing certificate-based authentication. We also have multi-factor authentication or yung MFA or some others call it 2FA, that can add another layer of security to identifying the user. The next one is the role-based access. So we can integrate with your LDAP or we can create local to the Fortinet Authenticator, local group membership, in order for us to limit or grant least privilege access, right? The next one, we can enable single sign-on. So the single sign-on, not just simplifying your system's identity, but also reduces end-user fatigue. So imagine your user needs to remember lots of passwords because as IT, we are always reminding them that you should use different password for different applications. Don't use the same password for all, because if one gets compromised, then the user or the hacker will get access to all your applications. But the problem with the user, very common to, the user will think, if I create different credentials for different applications, where should I save yung credentials ko? So multiple credentials, ang tendency para simple na lang, to make it simple, I'll just create a base password, then just add a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So very easy to to hack, no, sa mga users natin. And ayun, to avoid user fatigue, very simple password na lang yung ginagamit nila. And sa side naman ng IT, on the other side, no, sa admin side, there are lots of tickets, no, na nare-raise, especially sa mga service desk, na related sa password reset. No? Mag-i-email yan. Common user ticket yan eh. Please reset my password to this application. Reset this, reset this. Well, if you have a single sign-on, no? So isa na lang, it's encrypted, and the user don't need to log in, no, to each of the applications. And at the same time, this platform has its self-service portal, no, which allows the user to change their own password. Kasi the moment na si service desk yung mag-change, so there's also a risk, no, na alam ni service desk yung password mo. So before mo i-change yan, the service desk itself, no, is may access siya. Ano yung password mo? So before me change, if I'm a disgruntled employee, I can change your password, no, first before you do it, no. So I can access the applications, no. So what if very critical yung information na meron kang access? So it's also a risk for the company. So having this self-service portals and single sign-on will definitely help or reduce end user fatigue and the fatigue also of the service desk or mga IT operations. Okay, so the next use case is knowing what is on the network. So if the first case is focusing on the user side, so the second case is knowing what is on the network or more on the device side. So, we need to make sure that first, in order for it to be successful, we need to make sure that we have enough visibility, no? So the moment a device is connected to your network, your system should automatically identify, you know, what is that device. Is it a printer? Is it a security camera? Is it a printer? Or is it an access point? Is it a switch, a router, or probably a laptop, no? So your system should be able to identify it so you can create dynamic controls. And with having a dynamic control, meaning you'll be having the ability, no, to create micro-segmentation. No? So yun sinasabi ko kanina, on a single VLAN, no, you can create micro-segmentation to differentiate the network of application server, database server, no, automatically, and IoT devices, no. So you can create intent-based segmentation. So if a printer connects to the network, automatically it will be assigned to the printer VLAN. So mga ganun. And next is continuous response. No? So meaning, yes, you have allowed this device to the network, but you should continuously check, no, its posture. So you can check the vulnerability of the device. You can check whether it's having unusual behavior, kung bigla bang tumaas yung network traffic na binabato niya or nare-receive niya. So it's a red flag, no, for a network administrator. And as an administrator, you don't have the capacity to guard it, no, to watch it 24/7. So having a continuous response, automated response, no, will definitely help system administrators and reduce the risk, of course, having a faster response on security risks. So use cases of the network access control, device discovery and control. You can enforce BYOD and guest access policies, user access control, and device risk assessment. Okay. So this is one of the example of how does it work. No? So first, when a printer connected to the network, MAC notification trap triggers the network access control. Then the NAC profiles the device as a printer. And of course, the FortiNAC informs the fabric, whether a switch or the FortiGate or the firewall, and it will give the printer type access lang. So nasa printer VLAN ka lang. Similarly, if a user brings infected laptop to the network, then when the FortiGate or the firewall detects it, it can actually signal your network access control. And from there, it can quarantine the laptop on the switch or access level. So virus contained at the switch node. Yeah, the platform differentiators, over 2,800 network devices support. We support bidirectional APIs. We support both wired and wireless technologies. And it's very scalable. So as your enterprise network grows, you can just deploy more and more network access devices. So the third use case is the on-net and off-net protection. So it's more of the remote access to your application. Of course, we want to reduce the risk by having endpoint visibility, continuous posture assessment, and sharing this endpoint data to all your other security devices. So we value the integration between the security fabric. So the moment an endpoint protection detects anomaly, can flag it to the firewall or to other part of network security devices to perform necessary actions. Then in remote endpoint, will perform vulnerability scanning, web filtering, patching policies, and dynamic grouping. And in lastly, single sign-on using this client. So use case number 4 is application access management. So it's more on the zero trust access on the application side. So giving minimal application access to the user. And we have built this platform, our Z10A platform, mainly for granular application access. So wherever the user resides, we give them transparent panels, to replace the legacy VPN. So it's more safe. We can force granular control because we know the legacy VPN, once a user is inside the network, it has an access to the entire network, to that entire subnet. Whereas if we enforce the Z10A, you can limit the access of the user to specific applications, specific servers, specific service, right? And we will centralize, we can centralize this application access management, whether your application is on the data center, public, or private cloud. So you can leverage your existing firewall to do that. So this is how the Z10A works. So first, the endpoints or the users will share telemetry to the EMS server, or siya yung, you can say, the management server. It shares data, information, its OS, the software, yung mga vulnerability present, it shares to the management server. Then this management server will share this data to the security fabric, so mainly the FortiGate devices. And as the user access the applications located everywhere, a FortiGate will check if do I have the information for this user, no, na compromise siya or having a very bad security posture, right? And with that, I can enforce access, no. So if wala kang device certificate or if meron kang present vulnerability, using zero trust tags, no, I can deny access for you. But it's very granular, no. So for the other application na less critical, pwedeng iba yung treatment, iba yung metrics to check, no, for that user to be allowed or to be denied. Okay. So this is how Fortinet, no, helps our not just existing customers but yung mga prospecting customers. No? So we design it, no, based on, of course, Forrester. They have launched the Zero Trust Edge concept. No? So that Zero Trust Edge concept, no, so they mentioned it that instead of delivering, no, the services solely via cloud, no, they still consider, no, the on-premise side of things. No? So not all the security services can be delivered via cloud, but there is still this on-premise network, no, na hindi mawawala. We still have our offices that connects to your applications or your data center. So the steps to ZTE, Zero Trust Access Authentication, security controls, remote access to cloud applications will be enforced via CASB, and SD-WAN is a foundational control. So ganun siya sinasabi ni Forrester. And luckily, with Fortinet, we have all these means, no, or all these solutions to comply, no, to follow this framework, no. So SD-WAN, we are a leader in SD-WAN. It's a foundation of network connectivity, so we'll be able to connect securely the on-premise side and the application side. We converge networking and security, and we enable ZTNA, no, for explicit application access. So our customers who started, no, as SD-WAN customers, no, so they have this setup, interconnecting their offices, and as they mature, no, as the user needs security remotely, no, so we can deploy our SASE, FortiSASE, our Zero Trust platform, no, so we enforce security remotely for the users. And to improve or enhance security on the application access side, then you can go with the Zero Trust Network Access. So ito yung journey, no, moving towards Zero Trust. And of course, to extend security on the LAN side, we have Wi-Fi switches and enforcing user identity solutions that I've mentioned earlier, mga multi-factor authentication, Forti Authenticator, NAC, no, to fully protect all the edges of the network. So yeah, recap. The challenges: weak and stolen password, controlling application, growing attack surface, and of course the limited visibility and control for remote workers. And what Fortinet can do is to increase security via two-factor authentication, granular application access, device discovery, and off-network security policies. Yeah, again, Zero Trust access, knowing and controlling everyone and everything on and off the network. All right, so I think that's the end of my slide.